this government shutdown and affecting all parts of American society life, national parks and
Yeah.
everything, including air travel now.
And I don't think a lot of people would even equate those two things. But air travel is very closely tied with the government, obviously. So the shutdown has been impacting people all over the country. Luckily, personally, selfishly, I was able to escape a lot of these delays and dilemmas that people are facing. But it's happening all around the country, and I would imagine it's only going to get worse the longer this shutdown goes on.
Absolutely. I mean, at least 20 FAA facilities have seen staffing shortages this week. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said earlier this week that he's seen a slight tick up in sick calls from air traffic control. But listen, they're working without pay. So
I would do the same thing. Yeah. I don't blame them one bit.
It's a tough situation to be in. Joining us now to make sense of all of this is Heather McNevin, an assistant professor of aviation at Minnesota State. Professor McNevin, welcome to the afternoon shift. How are you?
Thank you. I'm excited to be here and be part of the conversation.
We're pumped to have you. Can you tell us why air traffic control is so important to air travelers? What exactly do these employees do?
Well, if you think about all of the airplanes in the sky, they're managed by a small army of controllers, and they use radar and they monitor aircraft. And most of the aircraft that you'd be flying on, think of like your last Delta flight, you were traveling at about 8 miles per minute. And at the peak during the day, there's about 5,000 aircraft airborne over the United States. And air traffic controllers are responsible for the safe, orderly, and expeditious flow of that traffic. So basically, their job is to get each airplane from point A to point B safely and as quickly as possible.
Wow. So I guess what are some, aside from where we've been reading about delays and stuff like that, but what are some of the other consequences of these employees not being around?
Well, all the controllers are still there. They're just not being paid. So they have to go to work, but they don't know when their next paycheck will be. And I was a controller for 17 years, and I was unfortunate to be involved in several government shutdowns. The longest was over 30 days. And it gets to be very stressful when you don't know when your next paycheck is coming, but you're still having to go to work every day and do your job. And it's different if you would have said, okay, you're not going to get paid for the next 30 days. That lets you plan. But what's going on now is they show up every day and they go, well, I don't think I'm going to get paid today, and I don't know when that's going to happen. And they repeat that day after day after day. And it adds a layer of stress that just shouldn't be there in an already stressful occupation.
Yeah, Professor McNevin, let's talk about your experience and being a part of those shutdowns and furloughs. Do you get back pay? Like, how does that work? Like, do you get credit for the days that you've worked? You just don't know when that credit is going to come? Like, from your experience, how did that work out for you and your paychecks?
Yeah, so when the government did reopen, we were issued our pay that we would have earned. It took usually 1 or 2 pay cycles to kind of shake out and get done correctly. But it's not just the pay. So what happens is air traffic controllers, there has to be enough of them on each shift. So when we want to take vacation, we can't just go, it looks like a nice day out, I want to go golfing. We have to bid our vacation in advance. So most controllers have to plan their vacations 12 months in advance. And if your vacation happens to fall on a time when the government is shut down, there's no guarantee you'll get paid your vacation if you go. So there's all kinds of different stress that goes on, and it just doesn't get resolved until the government opens back up.
Oh, yeah, that kind of leads me into my next question. There's no like kind of band-aid that solution that you guys can do. The only solution is really the government opening back up.
Really, the only solution is the government opening back up. There was some legislation on the books in the past that was to be voted on. It did not pass, but it would have basically exempted the FAA from these political quabbles with government funding and would have just let them continue business as usual because it's such a safety critical infrastructure.
Professor, should we be concerned about getting on a flight over the next few days? I mean, that you just laid out, you got planes that are flying 8 miles per minute. You've got hundreds of planes in the air at the same time, some of them flying on top of each other, albeit at different altitudes. Without somebody like you had in your former job in air traffic controllers now, is this something that we should really be concerned about getting on a plane?
So what happens with air traffic control is if there is stresses on the system, that could be the air traffic controller is stressed, there's ways to relieve that. The air traffic controller can call in sick and say, hey, I'm not mentally capable of functioning at the level I need to today to maintain safety. There's also additional stresses that can be implemented. For example, we can call in additional controllers to come in and help watch the system, but the system will be run safely, but it's testing the safety buffer, if you will. So I wouldn't be concerned about getting on a flight, but I will say that your air traffic controllers are going to be more stressed, and they may be calling in sick to help them deal with that. The infrastructure that we need is aging, and the air traffic control workforce is low. It's at about a 30-year staffing low. And so there's all these different stressors, and we don't let things get to the point in the system where it's dangerous. That's where we have to say, okay, those are staffing triggers, and that's where they might shut down airspace or they might delay aircraft on the ground to keep things at a safe, manageable level. But it is definitely stressing the system.
So what needs to be stressed is these government politicians to get back to work and the shutdown. And I was reading earlier that air traffic controllers actually played a pretty key role in ending the last government shutdown. Do you think it's going to be similar for this time around as well?
It'll be interesting. I know the last time I was a controller at that time, and we weren't allowed to call in overtime. And the way that your air traffic control system runs is on overtime. If you didn't have air traffic controllers working 6-day work weeks, 10-hour days, mandatory overtime, the whole country would come to a grinding halt. And with the government appropriations the way they were, the last time they couldn't call in that overtime. So it just ground everything, down to very slow traffic, and we weren't very efficient because we didn't have enough bodies on duty. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't know if they have the same constraints going on during this shutdown with the overtime issues, but it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Professor, you've laid out a lot of different sort of anxieties and stresses about this job. You've since left that job, and now you're a professor at Minnesota State. You miss the job? You miss being an air traffic controller?
I do. It's a really fun job when you can help airplanes get around thunderstorms, or you have really interesting flights that can happen. You can work a medevac flight, or sometimes we have honor flights that come through, so they'll have veterans on board, and they'll be going to like some of the military monuments and taking them on, like World War II and Korean and Vietnam vets, taking them to different things. So you get to see a lot of really amazing things, and I do like that aspect of the job. I don't miss the rotating shift work. That was a very difficult part of the job, but I do miss the job.
I'm sure you don't miss it right now.
Yes. Yes.
That's for sure. And obviously, we've been seeing already around the country some of the consequences of this government shutdown. Do you anticipate that it's going to get worse?
I don't think it will get better. But we have so many issues with air traffic control. It's been chronically underfunded for decades. So we need more air traffic controllers. We need updated infrastructure, and all these things take time and money, and consistency is the big thing. And it's really hard on the system when we can spool things up, and maybe you spool up hiring and training and modernization efforts, and then everything comes to a grinding halt. Well, they bicker about who's going to pay the bills, and then you have to start it up again. And these are things that you can't just turn on and off super quick and easy. So it's something that it definitely doesn't help.
I'm curious, like, what is like the training kind of like to leading up to becoming an air traffic controller? Is this something that if someone's interested in, they could get in there and get into the job pretty quickly?
Unfortunately, no. You will get hired, and then you'll go to the FAA Academy for probably about 3 months. That's in Oklahoma City. And then once you graduate there, you'll be sent to a facility, and you can expect 2 to 5 years of training on the job. And if you pass all of that training, then you'll be a controller. So we could hire, 10,000 controllers tomorrow, but most of them are going to fail along the way because it's a very difficult job. And most people have a difficult time taking a 2-dimensional image on a screen and making it 3-dimensional in their mind, and handling stress and doing all the things that an air traffic controller has to be good at. So it's a lot, and it's just, there's no quick fix to getting more air traffic controllers, unfortunately.
I don't want any of that smoke.
No, that sounds.
That's a lot.
I'm cool just talking my smack in the studio. We're really appreciative of people that do the job that you guys are doing out there.
Yes.
Thank you. They're a pretty amazing group of people.
Yes, and you're amazing too, Professor McNevin. Thank you for all the insight that you provided, and go check out some of your classes at Minnesota State. You're an assistant professor of aviation there. We appreciate it.